The star chamber grew quiet after Ethan spoke. The crystal walls shone with the light of 1,000 suns, yet inside it felt as if the whole galaxy had shrunk to only 2 souls. Lysera stood with tears still clinging to her lashes, her heart racing faster than she could control. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to hold on to his words as truth. But doubt still whispered in the corners of her mind. Ethan stepped closer. Not too close, only enough so his voice reached her gently. "Princess, I promise you this. What you heard was false. I have no one. I never lied to you." His calm eyes held hers, steady and clear. Lysera searched them for any sign of trickery, but all she found was patience, the same patience he had shown the first night they spoke. She lowered her gaze, her cheeks burning with both shame and relief. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I should not have believed whispers." "Whispers are easy to believe when your heart is already afraid," Ethan said quietly. "But you deserve the truth. Always the truth." The way he spoke made her chest ache. She was used to grand speeches, to words heavy with politics. But Ethan's words were plain, simple, yet they reached deeper than all the others. Lysera turned slightly toward the stars. "You said you have a secret plan, something you cannot speak of to the council." "Yes," he admitted. His hand tightened behind his back, as if holding himself steady. "It is dangerous knowledge, and not all would welcome it. But I told you because I could not bear to see you in pain." Her eyes widened. He had risked his secret just to ease her sorrow. The realization filled her with warmth so strong it almost frightened her. For someone as shy as she was, feelings came like waves, soft one moment, powerful the next. They remained in the star chamber long into the night, speaking in low voices. Ethan did not reveal everything yet, but he gave hints. He told her about the shadows moving in the galaxy, the rising threat of a force beyond their empires. He spoke of how Earth had quietly begun to prepare, how his role as just an engineer was a mask for something greater. Lysera listened with wide eyes. She did not interrupt. Her tears dried slowly as wonder replaced sorrow. She realized now that Ethan carried more than loneliness. He carried responsibility, and instead of pulling away from him, she felt drawn closer. When the time came to leave, she did not run as before. She walked at his side in silence, her hands folded before her. At the doors, she paused, then glanced at him with a small smile, faint but real. "Thank you, Ethan, for telling me." He nodded once, offering her the same calm smile. "Thank you for listening." That night, Lysera returned to her chambers with a heart that no longer felt broken. Instead, it was heavy with new secrets, but also filled with a hope she could not name. The following days changed quietly. Though she still wore her shy mask in public, her eyes often sought Ethan's. When they passed in the halls, she gave him a small nod. When they sat across the council table, her gaze lingered on him longer than before. The court noticed, of course. Whispers spread again, but this time, Lysera did not let them break her. She held her head slightly higher, her heart steadied by the memory of Ethan's voice. Still, doubt had not vanished completely. Some nights, alone in her room, Lysera wondered if she had made a mistake. Could she truly trust a human? What if his plan failed? What if the rumors returned sharper than before? But each time fear rose, she remembered his steady eyes under the starlight. And somehow she found the courage to believe again. Ethan, too, felt the change. He worked long hours in the docking bays, studying Valorian engines, learning their systems, and quietly recording what might be useful for his hidden mission. Yet even while surrounded by machines, his thoughts returned to the princess. He told himself not to be distracted, not to lose focus. But he could not deny that her shy smile gave him strength he had not expected. He had carried his burden alone, for so long that sharing even a part of it with her felt like breathing after drowning. One evening, fate brought them together again. Lysira had gone to the garden seeking calm when she found Ethan already there, repairing a small drone that hovered near the fountain. His sleeves were rolled up, his hands smudged with grease. She paused, watching him work, fascinated by the focus on his face. "You fix everything," she said softly. Ethan looked up, surprised to see her. Then he chuckled lightly. "That's my job." Lysira stepped closer, her shyness battling with her wish to stay. "Does it not tire you? Always repairing, always building?" He shook his head. "No, it gives me purpose. Machines are honest. They don't lie. If something is broken, you can see it. Fix it. I like that." She thought about his words and realized they reflected his nature. He was simple, steady, not like the nobles who played with masks. For a moment, she wished she were more like a machine, easy to understand without fear or hesitation. Ethan noticed the quiet look on her face. "Princess, may I ask something?" She nodded nervously. "Why are you always alone?" His voice was gentle, not accusing. "I see you surrounded by people, yet you always look apart, as if you carry something heavy." Lysira's lips parted slightly. No one had asked her this before. She looked away, her fingers twisting the edge of her sleeve. "Because I do not fit. My mother is strong, my sisters are bold. I am only quiet. The court thinks me weak. So I hide. It is easier." Ethan studied her for a moment, then said simply, "I don't think you are weak." Her eyes snapped back to his. The certainty in his voice stunned her. "You don't?" "No," he said firmly. "It takes strength to be gentle in a world full of noise. Maybe you don't shout or fight like others, but that doesn't make you weak. It makes you different. And sometimes different is exactly what is needed." Her chest tightened with emotion. She wanted to cry again, but not from sadness this time. Instead, she smiled faintly, and for a moment her shy mask fell away completely. Their bond deepened from that night. Lysira began seeking him more, not just in secret chambers, but even in the quiet corners of the palace. Ethan never pushed, never demanded. He simply listened, spoke honestly, and treated her as though she were not a fragile princess, but a person worth knowing. The nobles noticed, of course. Some mocked, others warned. One noble even dared to speak directly to Lysira. "Princess, be careful. Humans are ambitious. He may use you for his plan." Her hands had trembled, but her voice, though soft, carried steel. "No, he is not like you." The noble had gone silent, shocked at her sudden firmness. For Lysira, it was the first time she had defended anyone so openly. Inside, she realized Ethan's presence had already changed her. Yet even as their bond grew, the shadow of Ethan's secret plan loomed larger. Lysira could feel it, in the way his eyes sometimes grew distant, in the way he fell silent when others approached. She wanted to ask more, to know everything, but her respect for his trust held her back. Still, one night she whispered to herself, "Whatever it is, I will stand beside him." And she meant it. The shy princess who once cried alone was no longer alone. Her heart, though still tender, now carried a spark of courage. She did not yet know the full weight of Ethan's plan, nor the danger it would bring. But she knew one thing with certainty. Her tears no longer fell because of misunderstanding. They fell because she had finally found someone who saw her, someone who treated her not as a title, but as Lysira. And that was something she had never dared to hope for. The palace buzzed with new energy after the first gathering. Trade talks were scheduled, private dinners arranged, and alliances whispered behind closed doors. The Valorian nobles walked proudly, their jeweled robes glittering as they carried themselves with authority. Humans were new guests in this vast empire, and many alien rulers looked at them with suspicion, curiosity, or quiet amusement. Some believed humans were too young a race to matter in galactic affairs. Others feared that humans might rise faster than expected. Among all this noise, Princess Lysira carried a secret warmth inside her heart. She remembered every detail of her meeting with Ethan, the quiet engineer from Earth. His words, his calm smile, and the way he treated her like an ordinary person instead of a fragile royal, it all stayed with her. For the first time in years, she looked forward to leaving her chambers, yet Lysera was not the only one watching Ethan. In the royal court, nobles whispered about the human engineer who had caught the princess's attention. Some found it amusing, others found it dangerous. To them, the princess was not simply a girl, she was a symbol, a future ruler whose actions carried meaning. If she grew close to a human, it could shift alliances, threaten pride, and spark jealousy. One afternoon, Lysera entered the great garden, a place of glowing flowers and crystal fountains. She had come hoping for peace, but instead she heard voices hidden behind tall plants. Two nobles were speaking. Their words froze her where she stood. "The human, Ethan," one voice said with scorn. "They say he is already desired by the noble daughters of the Trivar Alliance." "Yes," the other replied, "and I heard he does not refuse them. The humans are clever, they seek to rise by bonding with high-born blood. Perhaps our shy princess does not see this. She thinks herself special. But the truth is plain. He will belong to another." Lysera's chest tightened. The glass of water she carried nearly slipped from her trembling hand. She quickly turned away, her heart pounding. She wanted to tell herself it was only gossip, but the words cut deep. Could it be true? Had Ethan already promised himself to someone else? That evening, when she saw him across the hall speaking with a group of alien officers, her doubt grew. He laughed softly at something one of them said, and one of the alien women touched his arm in a friendly way. Lysera felt her breath catch. She thought she had been foolish to believe a human like him would see her differently. She was shy, often silent, and though she carried a crown, she never felt strong like her mother or confident like the other princesses in the empire. She avoided him the next day, and the day after. When Ethan tried to catch her gaze, she looked away. When he tried to approach, she walked in another direction. Inside her chambers, she told herself it was better this way. She should not hope for something impossible. Yet her heart ached, and every night she found herself wiping away quiet tears. Ethan noticed quickly. At first he thought she was simply busy with royal duties. But when it happened again and again, he realized something was wrong. She no longer smiled when their eyes met, no longer sought him out with small questions about Earth. Instead, she acted as if he were invisible. The distance confused him, and though he tried to focus on his duties as an advisor, he could not forget the sadness in her eyes. One evening, he found himself standing alone in the docking bay of the palace, where human ships rested under the glow of alien lights. He stared at the sleek metal hulls, his mind restless. "What did I do wrong?" he muttered to himself. He was not a man who often thought about court politics or romance, yet the memory of Lysera's shy smile haunted him. Something about the way she had looked at him made him believe she trusted him. Now that trust was broken, and he did not even know why. Days passed, and the court grew louder with rumors. Some nobles joked about the shy princess chasing shadows. Others whispered that perhaps the human was more ambitious than he appeared. Lysera heard these words, but she never answered them. She carried her sorrow silently, even as her mother asked why her spirit seemed heavy. She could not tell anyone. Finally, a chance came when the princess was invited to a private gathering in the Star Chamber, a high tower where the walls were made of clear crystal. From there, one could see the stars themselves, burning bright, across the endless dark. She went with little interest, hoping only to escape the palace noise. But when she entered, she froze. Ethan was there too, standing near the edge, his figure lit by starlight. He turned when he heard her steps. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken questions. "Princess Lysera," Ethan said at last, his voice calm but carrying a trace of frustration. "Have I done something to offend you?" Her hands gripped the folds of her dress tightly. She shook her head quickly, unable to look him in the eyes. "No. No, you have not." "Then why?" His voice grew firmer. "Why do you avoid me? Did I say something wrong? If I did, tell me." I would rather know the truth than walk in confusion. Lysira's chest ached. Her shyness battled with her emotions, but her heart finally broke through. Tears welled in her eyes and her voice trembled. I thought you were alone. I thought you were different. But I heard that you already belong to someone, that you seek another. And I was foolish to think you would see me. Her words spilled out in a rush, and, once spoken, she turned away, ashamed of her tears. She had never revealed so much to anyone, never exposed her heart so openly. Ethan's eyes widened with shock. In that moment, he understood. The princess had believed rumors, had thought he was promised to another. He stepped closer, his voice softer now. Lysira, no, that's not true. I don't belong to anyone. She turned slowly, her cheeks wet with tears, searching his face for lies. But they said, rumors, he interrupted gently. This court is full of them. But I have no partner, no secret bond. I am not here for marriage or alliances. Her lips trembled. Then, why are you here? Ethan looked at her for a long moment, the stars reflecting in his eyes. He knew he had to be careful, but he could not let her continue in sadness. He took a deep breath. Because I have a mission, a secret plan, something I could not share with anyone until now. Lysira blinked, her tears slowing as confusion replaced sorrow. A plan? He nodded. His voice lowered, carrying the weight of hidden truth. I am not only an engineer. I came to study, yes. To build, yes. But Earth faces danger. The galaxy faces danger. I am preparing something that could protect us all. That is why I remain quiet. That is why I cannot always explain my steps, not because of another, but because of this. Lysira stood frozen, her heart racing. Her sadness was replaced by a storm of new emotions, surprise, hope, and curiosity. She realized now that she had misunderstood him. He was not distant because he sought another. He was distant because he carried a burden far greater than she imagined. She wiped her tears, her voice trembling but stronger than before. Then, I was wrong. Ethan gave her a small, steady smile. Yes, but it's not your fault. You only cared. And for that, I am grateful. For the first time in days, warmth returned to her heart. She looked at him not as a distant human, but as someone she wanted to understand more. And deep within her soul, the shy princess felt something awaken, something stronger than her fear, something that told her their paths were now tied together. The grand hall of the alien palace was alive with light and color. Tall windows of crystal shone with the glow of distant suns, while banners of silver and violet hung from the ceilings. Delegates from across the galaxy walked about in long robes, armored suits and decorated uniforms. They were there for a great meeting, a gathering where humans and the alien empire of Valoria would discuss peace, trade, and the future. Among the many guests was a shy princess named Lysira. She stood at the far edge of the hall, away from the loud voices and proud speeches. Her dress shimmered with threads of pale blue, and her long silver hair flowed down her shoulders like a river of moonlight. Though she was royal, her heart trembled whenever strangers came too close. She was quiet by nature, soft-spoken, and many in the empire whispered that she was too gentle to be a leader. Yet her presence at the gathering was important. As the daughter of the High Empress, she was expected to observe, to learn, and perhaps to meet those who would shape the future. Lysira's large eyes swept across the hall, catching sight of humans, for the first time in her life. They were fewer in number compared to the towering alien delegates, but they stood with a kind of confidence that drew attention. Unlike many alien species, humans looked plain. No wings, no horns, no glowing scales. But there was something about them that seemed strong and unshaken, as if they carried storms inside their hearts. The alien princess felt her chest tighten, with curiosity. She wanted to speak with one, yet her shyness held her back. Her gaze finally rested on a man standing quietly near one of the long tables filled with strange food. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed not in shining armor or royal robes, but in a simple black uniform marked with the symbol of Earth. His hair was dark, his expression calm, and unlike the others, he did not speak loudly or boast. He seemed to be studying the room, his eyes sharp but not arrogant. When others tried to approach him, he answered with polite words and a small smile before returning to his quiet watch. This human's name was Ethan. Though Lysera did not know it yet, Ethan was not a diplomat by nature. He was an engineer, chosen by Earth to join the mission as a technical advisor. His skill in designing ships and machines had earned him respect. Back home, but here among alien rulers and nobles, he felt out of place. Still, he stood with patience, trying to remain unnoticed. He knew why he was here. Earth wanted to learn. Earth wanted to show they were ready for friendship. But Ethan carried a secret weight, one that no one in the hall could guess. As the music played and speeches echoed across the hall, fate drew Lysera closer to him. She had wandered away from her royal guards, seeking a moment of peace. When she reached the food table, her hand trembled as she tried to pick up a glass of glowing nectar. In her nervousness, she nearly dropped it, but another hand reached out swiftly and steadied it. She looked up in surprise, her cheeks warming, and found herself staring into Ethan's eyes. "Careful," he said softly, his voice steady but kind. "The glass is light, easy to slip." Lysera blinked, unable to form words for a moment. No one had ever spoken to her so simply. Most bowed, most used long, respectful titles. But this human had spoken as though she were just another guest, not a princess. Strangely, it comforted her. Thank you," she managed to whisper. Her voice was quiet, almost lost in the sound of music. I did not see." Ethan gave a small nod. "It happens." He glanced at her dress, at the delicate crown resting on her head, and he realized she was no ordinary guest. "You must be someone important." Lysera's cheeks flushed even more. She lowered her gaze, unsure of what to say. "I am Lysera," she said softly. "Daughter of the Empress." Ethan blinked, surprised. He had just steadied the glass of the alien, Princess herself. Most humans would have bowed immediately, but Ethan simply offered a gentle smile. "It's an honor, Princess Lysera. I'm Ethan, just an engineer from Earth." The princess tilted her head. His words felt different from the others she had heard that night. No arrogance, no long speeches, just honesty. For the first time in a long while, she felt at ease. "Engineer?" she asked carefully. "Not warrior? Not diplomat?" He chuckled lightly. "No, not really. I fix things, build things, that's what I do." Lysera's lips curved in the smallest of smiles. Something inside her stirred, something she did not understand yet. She found herself wanting to ask more. The shyness that often kept her silent was still there, but Ethan's calm nature gave her courage. "What do you think? Of my people?" she asked after a pause. "Of this hall?" Ethan looked around, studying the glowing banners, the towering alien nobles, the weapons displayed on the walls. "Impressive," he said. "Very different from Earth. Bigger, brighter, but—" he lowered his voice slightly. "Also a little overwhelming." Lysera's eyes widened. She had thought the same many times before. The palace always felt too grand, too heavy for her gentle soul. Hearing him admit it made her heart quicken. She felt as though a secret part of her had been seen. For the rest of the evening, they spoke in quiet tones. Ethan told her small stories of Earth, of oceans and forests, of machines that carried humans across the stars. Lysera listened with wonder, her mind painting pictures of blue skies and green fields. In return, she told him about Valoria's traditions, about her people's songs and ancient history. The conversation was simple, but it was real. Neither of them felt the need to pretend. As the hours passed, Lysera's shyness softened. She even laughed once, a sound so rare that one of her guards turned his head in shock. Ethan noticed too. He thought her laugh was like music, and though he said nothing, the warmth in his eyes made Lysera's heart flutter. When the gathering ended, Lysera returned to her chambers, her thoughts restless. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling of silver glass. Her mind replayed every word, every glance, every smile. She had met countless nobles, countless leaders, yet none had touched her heart the way this quiet human had. She believed he was alone, like her. She believed he carried no crown, no burden, just a soul she could understand. The Princess of Valoria, who had always been too shy to reach for anything, found herself whispering his name in the silence. Ethan, a human unlike any she had known. A man who made her feel that perhaps, just perhaps, she was not so alone. The galaxy beyond Valoria's palace glittered with beauty, but Ethan saw it differently. To him, the stars were not just lights of wonder. They were markers of risk, signposts of danger. Every glowing system carried unknown threats, and somewhere, in the dark, he knew a storm was gathering. For weeks he had hidden his mission, carrying the weight in silence, but now a small part of that burden was shared with Lysera. It made him feel lighter, though it also made him restless. The more she looked at him with trust in her eyes, the more he wanted to tell her everything. Ethan spent his nights in the docking bays, where the massive Valorian cruisers rested. Engineers of many alien species came and went, but he worked, quietly on his own machines, recording notes and storing data. Earth had given him orders to study, to observe, to design countermeasures in case peace did not last. But Ethan's mind had gone further. He was building plans not only to protect Earth, but to unite defenses between humans and Valorians, should the shadow force he feared finally emerge. Lysera began visiting the docking bays more often. At first, she claimed curiosity about human machines, but Ethan quickly realized she came for him. She would sit nearby, watching his hands as he repaired a small drone or studied the glowing engine cores. Sometimes she asked questions, other times she simply sat in silence, her presence calm and gentle. Ethan found that he worked better with her near. Her quiet strength steadied him. One night, as the engines hummed softly around them, Lysera finally spoke the words she had been holding inside. "Ethan, will you ever tell me the full truth of your plan?" He paused, setting down his tool. For a long moment he stared at the half-repaired machine before him. His instincts told him to keep the secret, to guard it even from her. But his heart, the part that had learned to trust her, urged him otherwise. "Yes," he said at last. His voice was low but firm. "You deserve to know." Lysera's breath caught. She leaned closer, her silver eyes wide. Ethan glanced around to make sure no one was near. Then he spoke. "Earth is young compared to Valoria, compared to most empires here. But we've seen signs. Distress calls from the edges of space. Outposts destroyed with no survivors. Our scientists track strange energy readings, weapons unlike anything we know. We believe a hidden force is moving in the dark. If they come, they won't care about peace or trade. They will burn worlds." Lysera's lips parted, shock in her expression. She had heard rumors of attacks, but her mother's council dismissed them as pirate raids. Hearing Ethan describe them with such certainty made her blood run cold. "You believe they will strike us?" she whispered. "Yes." His gaze was steady. "Not just Earth, not just Valoria, everyone. And when they come, if we are divided, we will fall. That's why I'm here. Officially, I am an engineer, a quiet guest. But in secret, I am building designs for a fleet, ships that could fight back, built with both human and Valorian knowledge." Lysera's heart pounded. The idea was bold, even dangerous. If the council discovered it, they might call it betrayal. Yet she saw no greed in Ethan's eyes, only determination. "You carry this burden alone?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "Until now." Her hands tightened over her lap. She could feel his trust like a weight placed carefully in her palms. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen to share something vast and dangerous with her, not because of her crown, but because of her. Slowly, she whispered, "Then let me help you." Ethan looked at her, truly looked, as if testing her words. "It won't be easy, Lysera. If your people discover what I'm doing, it could mean exile for you. Worse. Her voice trembled, but she did not look away. I have lived in silence, hiding from the world, but now I have a chance to do something real. If danger is coming, I will not sit behind crystal walls and pretend the stars are safe. Let me help you, Ethan. Please. His heart stirred at her words. He had expected doubt, perhaps fear, but instead he found courage shining in her shy eyes. He nodded slowly. Then we'll do this together. From that night on, their bond shifted. No longer were they just a shy princess and a quiet human sharing secret talks. They became partners in a mission larger than themselves. Lysera began, using her position to aid him. She arranged for extra supplies in the docking bays, disguising them as routine maintenance shipments. She spoke gently to her mother about strengthening alliances, planting seeds of thought that might prepare the Empire for what was coming. And when court nobles questioned why she lingered near Ethan, she held her head higher and answered calmly, I learned from him. The whispers grew louder, but Lysera no longer bowed under them. She carried Ethan's secret in her heart, and it gave her strength. Together, they worked in hidden corners of the palace. Ethan showed her blueprints of ships unlike any Valorian, or human design, sleek vessels combining human adaptability with Valorian energy cores. Lysera listened, asked questions, and even offered suggestions. To Ethan's surprise, her ideas were sharp. She had grown up studying history and strategy, and though she often doubted herself, her mind was quick. One evening, as they bent over glowing diagrams, Lysera traced her finger across a design. If you place the shield matrix here instead, it will cover the blind spot. Ethan raised his brows. You're right, he chuckled softly. You'd make a good engineer. Her cheeks warmed, but she smiled. Only because my teacher is patient. Their laughter echoed in the empty bay, soft and warm. For Lysera, it was the first time she felt not just like a princess, but like a partner. For Ethan, it was the first time he felt he was no longer alone in his mission. But shadows moved even within the palace. A few nobles noticed the princess's closeness with the human. They grew suspicious, wondering if more than affection tied them together. One night, a courtier followed Lysera into the bay and nearly caught sight of the blueprints. Only quick thinking saved them. Ethan shut the holodisplay and Lysera distracted the courtier with a fabricated excuse about studying human art. But it was a warning. Their secret was at risk. Later, as they stood alone, Ethan frowned. This is dangerous for you, Lysera. If they discover... She placed a trembling hand on his arm. Then let them. I will not turn away now. I chose this. Ethan looked at her, the soft determination on her face, and something deep inside him shifted. For so long, he had carried the belief that humans must stand alone, that no one else would risk as much as they did. Yet here was Lysera, shy and gentle, standing with more bravery than entire councils. The days stretched into weeks. Plans grew sharper, ships more detailed. Ethan found ways to combine human missile systems with Valorian energy weapons. Lysera worked quietly to secure more information from the Imperial fleet, pretending it was only study for her education. They became a team, bound not just by secrecy, but by trust. One night, as they looked over the stars through the crystal walls again, Lysera whispered, Do you think we will win if they come? Ethan did not answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on the endless dark. I don't know, he admitted. But I know we'll be ready. And sometimes, being ready is enough to change the outcome. She nodded, her hand brushing against his without meaning to. For a moment, silence stretched between them, soft and fragile, but neither pulled away. For Lysera, her shyness was no longer chains. It had become part of her strength, her ability to listen when others shouted, her ability to see what others ignored. For Ethan, his loneliness had broken, replaced by a bond he had not expected. Together, they were no longer two isolated souls in a grand palace. They were something more, a secret alliance, a promise of hope. And though the galaxy did not yet know, Its fate was already beginning to change. The sky above Valoria glowed with the soft light of distant stars, but the calm was deceptive. Ethan had been tracking unusual energy signatures for days, signals that suggested the hidden force he had feared was finally moving. The shadows of the galaxy were stirring, and now the moment of truth had come. In the palace, Princess Lysera moved with confidence that belied her years of shyness. Her silver hair shone under the starlight as she walked beside Ethan through the docking bays. The ships they had worked on in secret now gleamed like metallic guardians, ready to defend worlds that had not yet realized the danger looming above them. Ethan checked his instruments repeatedly. Every reading confirmed what they had dreaded. The enemy was near. He glanced at Lysera, who was examining the schematics for the last time. Her calm presence steadied him, reminding him that he did not have to face this alone. "They will arrive soon," he said softly, though the tension in his voice was clear. Lysera nodded. "Then we must be ready. Our people and theirs. Everything we planned, it must hold." The first signals appeared on the long-range scanners. Massive ships, dark and jagged, moving like shadows against the stars. They were unlike anything either humans or Valorians had seen before. The Alien Council had warned of pirates and raiders, but this force was different. It moved with precision, purpose, and deadly intent. Ethan activated the fleet systems they had secretly prepared. Human. Designs combined with Valorian technology began to hum with power, shields rising, weapons charging. The docking bays, once quiet with routine maintenance, now buzzed with controlled chaos as the hidden fleet readied itself. Lysera stood beside him, her hands steady, though her heart raced. She thought back to the first time she had met him in the Great Hall. Then he had seemed calm, ordinary, even unremarkable. Now he was a leader, commanding not just machines, but trust, hope, and courage. She realized how much he had grown, and how much she had grown beside him. The enemy entered the outer system with sudden speed. Their dark ships blotted out stars as they advanced toward Valoria's space. Alarms rang through the palace and fleet. Yet Ethan did not panic. He moved between consoles, issuing commands with clarity and precision. Lysera relayed strategic positions to the Valorian ships, her knowledge from their secret planning giving them a vital edge. As the battle began, the first wave of enemy ships collided with Ethan's fleet. Energy beams lit the void, explosions rocked the metallic hulls, and debris scattered like fireflies across the darkness. The Valorian ships, once superior in technology alone, struggled against the alien force. But the hybrid designs Ethan had created gave them something the enemy did not anticipate: unpredictability. Lysera's heart pounded as she watched ships dodge, twist, and counterattack with combinations of human ingenuity and Valorian energy manipulation. Her training had never prepared her for this, yet she adapted quickly, giving orders that saved vessels from destruction. Her shyness was gone, replaced by determination forged through weeks of secret preparation and trust in Ethan. One of the enemy ships broke through the front line, aiming directly for the palace. Lysera froze for a heartbeat, then sprang into action. She alerted Ethan, who immediately diverted a squadron to intercept. The battle intensified as beams of light and energy clashed across the void. Ethan's hands moved quickly, issuing commands, recalculating trajectories, and redirecting power. His mind worked faster than the fleet itself, predicting moves, adapting strategies, and coordinating humans and Valorians as one force. Lysera watched him, amazed by the combination of calmness and determination. She realized she had underestimated the depth of his strength, not just his mind, but his heart. The enemy's second wave arrived with ferocity, aiming at both fleet and planet. Explosions erupted and panic rippled through unprepared Valorian crews. Yet Lysera, standing beside Ethan, reminded them of their training, their plans, their secret designs. Her voice, though soft, carried authority. She had learned courage from him, and now she led in her own right. A massive alien warship broke through the defensive perimeter, its energy cannon aimed at the planetary core. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he calculated the odds. "We cannot let it hit the core," he said. "Lysera, we need the intercept squad, now." She relayed orders instantly, coordinating fighters from both human and Valorian ships. The interceptors raced through space, dodging enemy fire, until finally surrounding the warship. Ethan guided the attack, combining weapon systems for maximum impact. Lysera watched as beams struck, shields faltered, and the enemy vessel shuddered, before exploding in a brilliant flare. The victory was small but crucial. The first major strike had been stopped. The fleet regrouped, and Ethan moved to the central command. Lysera followed, standing beside him as if she had always belonged. There, together, they issued new commands, adjusted strategies, and inspired the fleet to push forward. Hours passed. Energy weapons flared, ships twisted in space, and debris floated silently like stars reborn in the chaos. Yet with every challenge, Ethan and Lysera's partnership proved stronger. She anticipated his needs, giving him information before he asked. He trusted her judgment implicitly, relying on her insight to save lives and ships alike. Finally, the enemy retreated, leaving only scattered vessels to regroup. The fleet had held. The palace remained intact. Valoria had survived the first strike. Humans had played their part, and the bond between Ethan and Lysera had transformed from quiet trust into unshakable partnership. In the aftermath, the fleet gathered near the palace, ships battered but functional, crews exhausted but alive. Lysera looked at Ethan, her eyes reflecting relief, pride, and something deeper she could no longer deny. He had kept them alive, guided them through darkness, and shown her that courage was not always loud or flashy. It could be quiet, steadfast, and shared. Ethan finally allowed himself to breathe. He turned to her, his eyes softening. "We did it," he said quietly. Lysera smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Yes. Together. For the first time, they allowed themselves a moment without plans, without calculations, without fear. The galaxy still held threats, unknown forces lurking in the void, but they had faced one, and they had survived, not because of strength alone, but because of trust, partnership, and courage. The princess, once shy and hesitant, realized she had grown in ways she never imagined. Her tears from misunderstanding were gone, replaced by tears of triumph and relief. And Ethan, the quiet engineer from Earth, realized that strength was not carried alone. It could be shared, and in doing so, it became something greater. Later, as the stars shone in peaceful patterns once again, Lysera and Ethan stood on the balcony of the palace. The glow of distant worlds painted the horizon, calm and serene after the storm. "You were right," Lysera said softly. "Being ready is sometimes enough." Ethan nodded. "And having someone beside you makes it even stronger." She looked up at him, her heart racing. "Then, stay beside me, Ethan. Not just in battle, but always." He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "Always," he said, his voice steady. For the first time, the shy princess knew she was not alone. She had someone who understood her, trusted her, and shared not just danger, but hope. And Ethan, who had carried the burden of secret plans alone, for so long finally felt the weight lifted, replaced with a bond he had never expected but would never let go. As the galaxy watched from afar, unaware of the secret battle fought in its silence, the human and the alien princess stood together. Two hearts, two races, united not just by circumstance, but by choice. And in that quiet triumph, a new chapter began, one where courage, trust, and love could shine brighter than any star in the universe.